Hey, welcome back, viewers. It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, and we've got a treat for you. We're down here at the Metropolitan Pavilion, 125 West 18th Street, and we're gonna walk in and tour the Outsider Art Fair. Okay, well, we made it in. I don't know, this is probably the 26th iteration of this show. As I said, this is always a highlight of my year. And, well, I just talked to the guard at the main entrance. He said they're open until 9, so try to run around in this hour and something we've got here and get some pictures. Oh, that's fun. Wilsonville. This is sometimes not easy. So what we've got is it's like a collection of toy guns. Some of these are pretty interesting, but I don't see a label. Maybe it's just a mixed collection. And pistols. Cat House Proper, New York. And what does it say? Daniel Swinigan's son. Well, it's opening night, and there are all kinds of people here. Some interesting electric assemblage things. Yeah, maybe opening nights are not the best time to come around for these things. Some Native American art at the Donald Ellis Gallery in New York. And these look like pencil and crayon on ledger pages. One of the interesting questions, or one of the interesting elements about art, at least outsider art, is how you classify this. So we got some Howard Finster pieces here at Institute 193. Magic Markings, Brooklyn, New York. Some of these look like Tantric drawings, but I don't think they are. Although, again, they don't have wall labels. More of the Tantric drawings. I believe that many of these are anonymous, and some of them may be many years old, maybe even 100 years old, more than 100. Oh, I like this. Is that Sanskrit? I don't know. Very nice. Well, I should go under my sink. I've got a bunch of plastic bags I've been waiting to take back and recycle. I guess I could sew them up and make a nice little tapestry. These are muralist pieces. Oh, I love some of these Tantric diagrams. Okay, so they were saying that a lot of this is early 20th century. Wonderful palette. Oh, and I love these diagrams. That's a beauty. This little piece couldn't be more than about 7 by 5 inches. It's a very meditative piece. I've said before that I think that the outsider art has become very much more important to young painters these days. I think part of the reason for that is that this might be one of the last realms where you can actually try to make or contribute art that is somehow still subversive, and that might have already gone by the wayside. Oh, those are kind of nice. Uncle Peter Bragak pig. Oh, that for $2,800. It's another Uncle Peter peacock. Frank Jones. Oh, I always like pieces like this. Weird kind of dark paintings that look like they were done about 60 years ago and left in somebody's closet or a basement for 40 years. Some nice little drawings. It looks like they're on little unfolded cardboard boxes by Naviadati Ankaspura. This is nice. I think this is mostly ballpoint pen, so it's got a very limited palette. But Naviati does a nice job of getting a lot of variation and various tones with his cross-hatching and scribbling there. Pieces by Miguel Ramon Morales Diaz on cardboard. I saw this and thought of straight ahead surrealist abstraction, maybe from the 30s. This is by Melvin Edwards Nelson. Spiritual number 4, 1961 to 65. Another another one by Melvin Edward Nelson, Planetary World. Well, I not only come here to look at the art, but to get ideas about my wardrobe. And we're looking at the Humbaba Fine Art, New York. And I guess this is an installation of work by Robert Kippur, 1944 to 2015. Well, I don't know whether this would be considered outsider art or not, but it's pretty radical. We'll take a look at some of this. Got a lot of paint on these. Well, we don't have any backstory on Robert. These are pretty big paintings and they got a lot of paint on them. Let's see what it says. Untitled River Torrent Nudes, oil on canvas, 90 by 112 inches. 45 grand. And, well, Robert is one of the painters that actually builds this up, his oil paints up to the point of being like a relief. Now, it would be interesting to find out how much one of these paintings would weigh. Let's look at some of the detail here.
It's good to see you. It's nice to meet you. Pleasure. Let me know if you have any questions about it.
Tell me the backstory on Robert.
Oh, all right. Oh. So, these came from the estate of Robert Kippur. He was a New York local. He lived on West 22nd, actually.
Not so far away from this neighborhood.
No, it's not. And he was actually a bus driver.
Really?
Yeah, he was a very ornery character. He didn't have really any friends. He had some acquaintances. And these were a recommendation by his therapist to paint.
Did he have any formal training?
He had no formal training. These stretchers were built in his apartment, and he painted them in his apartment, and they were actually larger than the doorway, significantly larger than the doorway.
So he had to break out the windows or something to get them out of the...
The doorway was
Because I
two parts. You had
was going to say, you're not going to be able to roll these up, right?
No, these would not be able to get rolled up. No. But, look, they just have so much layering of paint on top.
Absolutely, yes.
Multiple at a time. They weigh about 100 pounds each.
I was going to say at least that much. How long would he work on one of these pieces, do you know?
You know, what we do is we have the body of his work, and as he matured in terms of his style, he used more layering, and these came later on, so they have to be somewhere between the 90s and early 2000s. He's only had two shows that anyone knows of. One was in the late 70s, the other was in the mid 80s, and they were both very low key, not extremely successful because all of the art that was displayed there we have.
Okay, well, thank you for that extrapolation there. Thank you. Okay. So Robert was an honorary character that started painting for therapeutic purposes. This is the Calvin Morris Gallery, New York. This is a piece by Sylvian and Gaiaslena Stralens titled Personage Blue 2016 Wooden Metal and Found Cloth and Objects. Interesting chair. This is by Tony Pedamonte. Well, I was talking about outsider art, Art Brut, as being one of the last areas where you could still kind of do subversive work. But that may be gone because the commercial market has gotten so involved in this now. This is by Gregory Van Manen, untitled, 2014 acrylic on canvas. Libaf Penny. It's more by Tony. Ilja Bolsil Bolshevik, Blue Lady, 1967. This is an unstretched canvas, also by Ilja Bolshevik. Somehow these untrained natural artists can get some wonderful things happening with their paint surface because they're not going for the standard finishes. Lindsay Gallery, Columbus, Ohio. Some bottle works by Steve Mosley. Well, I'm back to my little theme of subversion in art and the outsiders, and I guess it goes back to Jean Dubuffet and his theory of Art Brut. And in a lot of ways, this was kind of tied to Sigmund Freud and some other early 20th century psychologists, and some pieces by Troy Smith and their theories about sanity, what sanity was, what insanity was. And I just don't think they've got that figured out yet. This is the Carl Hammer Gallery, Chicago. This is a piece by the wonderful Simon Sparrow. They don't have a date on this. I was actually talking to Chris Martin a couple of years ago, and I asked Chris when he started using glitter if he was familiar with the work of Simon Sparrow. And I don't know whether he said he was or not, but I think Simon Sparrow is, well, he's long gone. I think he probably died maybe in the 80s sometime, but Simon was using glitter like this for years in his work. That's a very nice piece. Got some pieces by Eugene von Broechenheim. He's another interesting artist who is doing strange photographs of his wife. Well, maybe not so strange. And he was also a self-taught painter. Now, most of this is all done with kind of smudging things around with your fingertips or different tools and then scraping away parts of the surface. Bill Traylor is perhaps one of the best known of the classic American outsiders. I don't think Bill Traylor started painting until he was 65 or something, and then had a very productive 20 years. I think he worked on the street mostly, but he's got a wonderful sense of design. The way he lays out his forms on the sheet. Howard Finster. I think also Howard was another preacher. Out there is much more than just land or seashores. I've seen the glory of all this world, blah, 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 blah. I think Howard was one of the first major outsider folk artists, whatever you want to call it, got the attention of the New York art world. I think Greg Amanoff, a well-known abstract painter that I believe is teaching at Columbia now, I think that he saw his work back in the maybe late 70s and started bringing people's attention to it. These are pieces by Sam Doyle, and it looks like enamel on sheet metal. More Henry Darger. Of course, Henry was a Chicago outsider. And the Vivian Girls. Joseph Yoakum. One of the interesting things to note about the Chicago artists is that Harry Hu, the Harry Hu group, Gladys Nielsen and Jim Newt, maybe Ed Patchka, were very influential in promoting this work. And I think that a lot of the Chicago school, or the Chicago eccentrics like Harry Hu, were very influenced by this. I think Jim Nutt and his wife got a bunch of Martin Ramirez paintings when they were teaching in California and brought them back to Chicago. Hill Gallery, Birmingham, Mississippi. This is a Siri Indian doll, 1940s. Again, we've got this kind of odd, old, obscure painting titled Women in a Dressing Room, Chicago origin, so I guess this is anonymous. This is Sister Gertrude. It's a well-known folk artist. This lady was a kind of a street preacher and dressed in white for the last 50 or 60 years. Actually, I thought this grouping was very nice. It's by Toros. So we've got sculpture, This is drawings on cardboard. Oh, unknown artist. Yeah, I like the simple palette. They have an estimated time for these from the 1930s. Also, these figures are great with the heads. Standing figures, unknown artist, 1930. Found somewhere in New York State, mixed media. This is Ralph Fasanella. Local 65, Build Your Union, 1950. Actually, Ralph is fairly well known. I didn't know that he started painting that early. I thought he was mostly working in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but well, he's quite a painter. Okay, this is something that a lot of people are having a hard time resisting. This is at the Andrew Edlund Gallery. Brent Green. It's the hammer bell. I don't know, better not touch it. You know, I got Andrew Edlund. Let's see if he can play.
It's not really
Just a little Bach.
a little Bach. How about Neil Young?
Okay.
That's more my speed.
Okay, so we don't want to encourage people to get too carried away with it. And oh gee, this must have, I don't know what, 40, 50 hammers in there. So this is nice. Andrew is one of the stalwarts of the outsider art thing now, and is actually the proprietor of the Outside Art Fair now. These are a couple pieces by Gal Fangi. And one of the curators that works at the gallery recently organized a show called Ectu Art Brut, and it was an open call show, and I think they got over 700 responses, so they've been rotating work down at the gallery for the last month and a half. It's a piece by the great Tom Duncan. I saw Tom the other night. It's titled Inside Outside from 2016. Tom was telling me he grew up in maybe Scotland, and his earliest memories as a child were air raid drills in his school, trying to get away from German fighters. It's by Sam Doyle. Well, I love the surfaces that you get on some of these pieces that have been allowed to age for 20 or 30 years before they're brought out. Untitled. A couple of pieces by Charles A.A. Delachaux. Ario Centra, left flank. Charles is another interesting and very classic, well-known outsider artist. lived in Texas. Army planes start flight towards Nome. Henry Darger. So this is the Henry Boxer Gallery. William A. Hall triple wingback cruiser. It's like William likes his cars. Well, also we've got a nice wall of George Widner pieces. Time Flux Capacitor. Well, this is interesting because it's like George is actually getting involved with more color in some of these. I think a lot of the previous work I've seen was like this, where it was mostly maybe black and white and some foxing or some staining and a few color notations here and there. This is titled Long Engine Number 1, 2017, ink on found paper. So, yeah, George is using notebook paper, gluing it together, and George has an odd ability to visualize dates and the weeks of the day. So a lot of these pieces are based on calendars, and I think this is a very good example of what I was talking about his using more color, and actually now they're starting to look more like classic abstraction. Untitled 2017 mixed media, and that's 7,500, and I would say that that's probably about 18 inches square. More George, another calendar piece. I always wondered where he got his paper. Foma Gerentusuk, untitled 1955. It's like pen and ink. It says that Foma was born in a remote village in Siberia in 1907, and he never learned to draw and completed only elementary education in a rural primary school. Someone made the statement to me when I was talking about outsider art, and they said that the big difference between being an outsider artist and just being a regular artist was that outsider artists always seem to have much better backstories. So you had to be, I don't know what, a criminal or autistic or somebody from a very deprived or challenging background. Some stained glass pieces here by Pinky McClure. This piece is titled The River. Stained glass.
We'll see.
Some beaded sculpture by Nancy Josephson. Oh, hey, there's Tom Doyle right there. Now, I could have seen this kind of work out in Bushwick yesterday. Okay, Okay, so we're at the Chris Byrne Gallery from Dallas, Texas, and we've got Chris Byrne here. Tell us about the show. You're featuring Susan Te Kahurangi King.
Right, and James, you remember when we introduced the work in 2014?
That's right. I saw it. I was captured.
Very early drawings, 1957 through 60.
1957. So
These
Susan must have only been
right. She was like
7 or 8 years old, and she was working at that time.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So, but these that we're looking here on this wall are probably.
These are later. These are circa 1965, circa 67. But you can still see the comic book characters. And then the chronology of the works get later as you kind of go around, but it's not.
Yeah, we'll move along a little faster. You know, one of the things that I love about her work is that she's using very, very simple materials.
Right.
Pencils, color pencils, maybe some crayons, maybe a ballpoint pen here and there, but she gets such wonderful variations with her color and her surfaces and the various kind of fields that she creates with her strokes.
And exactly,
She's got a.
translating. It's like that's the drawing. It's not
She's-
a drawing to blow up, a drawing to, you know.
She's got a great color sense too, somehow. Okay.
And you're familiar with these more kind of web.
Yes.
Start to happen in the maybe mid 70s or so.
You know, I thought it was interesting that you said that at some period there were some social workers or something that said that they thought that her drawing was, I don't know what, maybe detracting from our socialization or something, and
She involved in a workshop, and I think all the intentions were good. Learn kind of a skill, but they really dissuaded her from making drawings, which is kind of obviously crazy in retrospect. She didn't draw.
there's Susan right there.
Okay, but here's the hook, James. So
Okay.
this is her sister, Petita, who you
Right, the
mentioned.
sister.
Her collection of, objects and all that relate to the drawings. They try to talk about the drawings. They're not all, it's not like a box that she got from the attic and brought down. I mean, this is an ongoing collection, and she's still locating objects that she remembers or she feels are representative of things. So this is like kind of the family archive.
Wow,
And
that's
the
beautiful.
reason why we wanted to show it was because it's so impressive. It's such an impressive kind of autonomous collection itself. But it's in London. I mean, I was talking to I won't name him, but an art journalist, and he couldn't believe that she didn't know certain artists' work, modern or post-war. And I think this is the argument, how she gets from this to that. Let me do one thing, James.
Sure.
So this, I mean, sometimes, you know, it's very one-to-one, but then sometimes, obviously, you know, this is a Phantom Man character that was
Wow.
in Auckland at the time, sold orange soda, and Susan would be aware of that, but we have the documentation of the billboard that she would have seen at that time. So this wasn't a ubiquitous thing. It was maybe one billboard, one.
Wow. I always love to get the backstories on these.
There's a big one for this.
All right, well, I love the show. And thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thanks for coming again.
Norman Brosterman, East Hampton. Baskets made by inmates at the Iowa State Penitentiary of Anamosa in 1930s. While some of the painted designs are fanciful, others are actual iconography common to the Native American tradition of Great Plains tribes. All right.
My friend, 30 years.
And again, they've got such wonderful patina on here.
And my eye is going to.
I like the shapes of these too. Makes me think of a Brancusi, maybe? I think these wood carvings are by Winifred Rembrandt. Or actually, they're leather.
Excuse me, folks, guys. Do apologize. We are closed for the afternoon.
Okay.
Please head to the front.
All right, we're heading out. Thank you. Well, you heard it, folks. We're heading out. Responding to Pasaquan. The people who see into the future responding to Pasaquan, Eddie Owens Martin and Saya Wolflack. Okay, so we've got a little environment here. Looks like these are Frank Stella paintings, but we've got these collage pieces, fabric with looks like sheet aluminum that they've nailed on for frames. Got a nice geometric patterning. This one's got a more exuberant frame. Presented with support from the Columbus State University Archives Collection, the Pasaquah Preservation Society Incorporated, and the John Michael Kohler Art Center. All right, we're getting out of here. James Kalm. Coming to you from the Metropolitan Pavilion on West 18th Street. This has been the 2018 Outsider Art Fair. You can leave your comments, criticisms, reviews, ideas, feedback below. And please, thank you, Kate.